This is a conversation between Mr. Carl Gerard, Vic Ritter, and Tracy Cox at the Methodist Home in Warren, Indiana. The date is August 15, 1979. All right, so we've got that record. So we're going to start out with, we asked some questions about your parents, that kind of thing, your childhood, and then go into high school education, and then on up into your professional career. So I'll probably start out with some questions like, let's see, what kind of occupation was your father involved in? That kind of thing.
Whatever he could get to. He had delivered ice, and then he went into the ice company.
Mm-hmm.
And then mother didn't like it. She wanted no help. Some of that stuff is just shining like that over there.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of shining, and I couldn't tell you what size it is. Just, we came. Sometimes I can talk, and other times I can't talk. I used to get more money on keeping with my mouth shut.
I heard some stories.
Yeah.
Heard some stories from. I guess, is that your son? Let's see, grandson who has the house now?
No.
That was.
None of our family owns it.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see. But so your father more or less did odd jobs. Like what we're trying to do is find out, what sort of things maybe influenced you as a child to become interested in architecture and the profession, that kind of thing.
Well,
schooling, that kind of thing. Whether it's whether you had an uncle or somebody who did woodworking, or whether it's some building that you enjoyed as a child and inspired you to pursue this career.
Well. I got not writing. I should have put down writing.
Yeah, well, that's if it doesn't come to you right now, maybe it'll pop up later, that kind of thing.
I know where I used to live at 19th Wall up there.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, across the street from it. Saloon, and liquor was all there. As far as I could, we had people come in our house and go over there. That was when I was a kid.
Did you have any hobbies when you were younger?
Hobbies? Let's see. Well, yes, I would take something and maybe I'd get in my mind, and then I'd begin with a knife. A little saw, something like that. You get a shape that thing is. But I think we moved away from there when Dad went over on the other side of the place where
So you made carvings with wood or something like that? You modeled things?
Yes. Not so much models, but they all went over to the place and got rebuilt, I guess. I never was in the place. Well, they didn't like it very well.
Talk about the saloon.
Yeah.
So the saloon was sort of the center of social life.
Yeah. Around there. This is south.
Mm-hmm.
There's Walnut Street coming out here. Well, there's 9th and Walnut. There was a book built with ice, but it's still standing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a tooth in my head. Now we're out here, and the companies that hire the men for iron.
Mm-hmm. The architectural ironworks or something? Or?
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they'd come out here on payday, and when they get there, they'd leave them home. I suppose a little while, and then that piece, that right across the street from our house,
mm-hmm.
they'd always get a fight out of there every Saturday, sometimes more than that. I imagine I haven't been out that way for a long while. I don't suppose there's still fans standing, but funny things happen. Now then, we went from there to over here north. See,
mm-hmm.
here's the courthouse in here. And we went over there.
Up around Jefferson and.
From 647 North Jefferson.
Right. I think that's the house that we went to. We picked up the materials. Let's see.
Yeah.
Is that where your office was located? That the upstairs studio, or was that a little bit?
No, I was in the in a 5-story building right there.
The Johnson building?
Johnson building, yeah. I was in there. Had one or two youngsters that were wonderful. I'd take them on and put them to work. And I don't know, I expect some of them got out and got their work done.
Well, okay, so as a child, you did some whittling, and you probably picked that up from maybe people across the street or whatever, being around those guys, they'd whittle and that kind of stuff?
Oh, if I saw a fellow digging a tree out of a little tree, a shade tree, and I could get to it, well, I'd go over there and watch him get that down.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you can do carve things out of certain kind of wood. Not so hard. Then we got to begin to go out to west.
Mr. Fowler, please call the report.
Well,
Let's
see. It was a little. It was a hell. Oh. You got me stopped. I know. I can see that thing there, and I can't put words to it.
Mm-hmm.
But west. Well, it was followed the river around there, and across the river was
That's the park, West Park?
that was part of the park, but when they wanted to do dirty work, they'd go over a hanging. You could cross over there. Then they had a baseball. I don't know whether football in there or not. But Oh, I doubt it. I had that probably all taken up with. Something that's rather right.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Now, from your childhood then in high school, did you do anything, artwork or anything like that that got you interested in drawing that maybe influenced you later?
Well, I don't know. I see something mechanically, and another same something mechanical. No, I'm off now.
Yeah.
Well, I'd stand and watch that thing. And then nobody was looking. I didn't take the thing away. Just try to find in your mind what you can take and do with it, and then what make something. It'll be worth something.
And that's sort of the concept behind it.
Yeah.
Behind the machine, yeah. Right. So you did a lot of looking at things when you were in your younger days, just kind of watching stuff.
Oh yes. This was an across street down on 647 North Jefferson. There's a cross street alley
Mm-hmm.
coming out to North Street, and I stopped there to watch there's about 4 men starting to do something up this alley here.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood there. I was going to town, and we didn't have very much to do. And it wasn't going very far. And he was had his men dig a hole for it's there. It's where there, yeah, no doubt. And I stood there and watched. And the kid like I didn't talk to people very much, but I stepped a little closer and said, "Fellas, the men have got that copper ring upside down."
Copper ring upside down, eh?
Who are you? Who are you? Well, don't do it. You want to lose money. I'll let you.
They put in water line then. You said copper?
No, it was to the sewer.
The sewer.
So all the sewers in that part were up alley.
Uh-huh. Right.
Well, in a little bit, one of his foreman, I guess it was that asked him what he was going to do there. Take it out. He took it out and turned it over and put it in, just fine.
So if they would listen to you, they would have had it in there right.
That's right. And he could have, well, if I'd have gone down that street there and saw that back in there like I did, most people would go on. Or else, what are you doing there? Right. Then you go on. But I wanted to save some money there.
Yeah.
And I didn't want any of it at all. I could have a dozen of those stories. Putting all line.
The way you became an architect, you went, or you didn't go to school. You went through the mail. You took correspondence classes or something, and you.
No. Over in this. I squeezed in, or somebody talked me in, helping, let's see, what was his name? He was a architect, and we only had three architects here. Well, that would make a whole lot of. What I want to say,
Yeah, I know there was only, by looking in the directories, we found there were only several, well, architects that were practicing. I can't remember the names exactly, but.
Well, there was the one I worked for, and I didn't get. He left me when he died.
That was that was
Cuno Kibele. Now I don't know what it was, whether he was Irish. If you'd asked him, you'd never get an answer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The contrary.
Yeah.
Well, I saw his parents were from Muncie. I found some information that, I mean, his parents were from there, I believe. Or I found a couple Kibeles in the directory.
He had a daughter and a living, the daughter had a living mother there.
Okay, I see.
And that's all torn down now.
When did you first meet Mr. Kibele?
Somebody, one friend of mine, told me that I'd be well off if I go over and talk to him. So he had another fellow with him, and he didn't know anything to talk about. I didn't even meet him, but I saw his pictures some places there, and some tell me what he was or who he was, and so I got in there, and let's see now, $9. I got to $9 a week.
He hired you to work for $9 a week?
But I don't know how far back I had to go to get that. But it didn't amount. I didn't care.
Was this after you already had some experience in drawing?
Well, yes. Now I think right now. I took a
correspondence course.
Correspondence course. That was in my home.
That was through the mail.
And I never went through all of that.
Oh, you didn't finish it? Oh.
No, I told this
Cuno?
what I was doing.
And
he said you couldn't get anything any better.
All right.
I think to myself, let's go to town then. So he finally died and left me a lot of stuff. I thought a lot of stuff was over his daughter, but I don't know whether he wanted her to have it or not. And I don't know whether she's alive to live with her.
No, we have some of his, or a lot of his drawings. The Wysor Theater he did in Muncie, but that was before you got with him, wasn't it? The Opera House there.
Oh, the old Opera House, yeah. We had two. One over here on facing north now, maybe. One over there, then one in here, coming back on Madison Street. Mulberry Street.
Mulberry.
Yeah. And of course they tore that down. Yeah, sure.
And so you started working for him, and what kind of things did you do at the beginning?
Well, kept the place clean. And I found out that I had a friend in there, and I don't remember his name, but he was about Kibele, about his age, and he got me in there, and he'd say, you stick to God, you stick to her. What did he call him? He went for the Navy. I don't know. These things. Well, I was trying to get in another. Of course, I started torn down now. And Adam Street's torn down. Not the street, crosses it.
I had a question. Do you remember how you first found out about the correspondence school, the at Scranton?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that in the magazine, or?
A man came. They had a fellow here that was trying to get started.
Like a salesman, or?
Salesman, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'd have to make a drawing, take it to him, or he would come to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in my home only. And he finally said, well, you could start, you go to so-and-so. And I suppose I'd talk with so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
So I went up there and got the job, and just start me.
But a salesman did approach you about the correspondence school.
Oh yeah, I never. I don't remember now how many sections there was to that thing. But back in down at the end, it got to show, and they were showing stuff that I knew before.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sort of repetitive.
yeah.
So you're starting to know more than they did.
But I never went to school. I don't know. Well, just get right down, and you draw so-and-so for this, and that.
So you got experience just doing things,
Yeah.
practical things,
Yeah.
rather than going to school.
Yeah. But if I see something that's going around, something that I thought I'd like to see, I'd go over. I'd ask the fellow building, and I didn't tell him to go on. I'd see that, or I'd stay away from that so-and-so. And you can go anyplace else.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the guy that turned the side rim upside down.
Mm-hmm.
After you started working in Mr. Kibele's office, you were just doing things around the office, and you actually started doing some drawings and things like that. How did that come about? That you first started working on a building?
He came down here from
It was in Fort Wayne.
no, there's
Bluffton, maybe?
Bluffton, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There wasn't enough money there.
So you had to go.
And he had
Had to come to
came
Muncie.
down to Muncie.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told him. And then I can't put two things at the same time.
So he needed somebody to work for him?
Well, who you mean?
Mr. Kibele.
Oh yes, he brought a lot of blueprints up, and that was I think those blueprints were blueprints from, no, it must have been Fort Wayne, up in there someplace. In other words, he made this place the Muncie architect.
Mm-hmm. Had you ever run across, there was a fellow by the name of Samuel Bartell. Have you have any records of him around 1913 or so? He was just there for
Bartell.
Yeah, just offhand. Well, I've been trying to find some information. I thought maybe you had known him or something like that. So when you were working in his office, do you recall what the first project you started working on was on his? Some of the first stuff you did.
No, sir, I can't. I can't.
Do you remember reading any architectural magazines?
Oh yes, get a hold of that. You're in.
You get a lot of ideas from magazines, or?
Well, there weren't too many of those things. But and if I didn't know what I was doing, I'd just make sure that I know I made friends every time I meet one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd know, where's the fellow that knows what I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What is it? I don't know. He called me by my first name. And I met a lot of them that way.
But back to the magazines, do you remember any specific magazines you read? Like American Building Architect, or let's see, any
Pencil points. That was,
Pencil points. Yeah, that was more of a drawing. What? No, I don't remember.
Did you do any traveling as?
Traveling like Eaton down here,
Mm-hmm.
and Broughton.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody wanted to build Anderson. Wouldn't go to Anderson.
what about around the States or anywhere else?
Yeah.
Or did you ever get out of the United States? Travel outside of the country?
No. No.
Just kind of stayed around the area then. Did you have any? Let's see. Were you active politically? Did you have any special political party, or did you have jobs through anything like that?
No. Well, I can't go back and see that far, but I know that the men that built, ran the corner lot of the one that's been torn down, right on the
Square.
Mm-hmm. That was a men's
Club.
no, not club, store.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whenever they want anything and ask him or me, or right there, you say, you go see so-and-so. Or stay away from so-and-so, or will give me, I'm doing my best.
Mm-hmm.
You did a lot of buildings for Ball State, the university, while you were with Mr. Kibele. How did that come about? Did you know somebody in the administration? Or did Mr. Kibele know somebody?
No, sir, I can't tell you. It was one of those buildings out there. I don't think. No, it isn't.
So will you?
It's going. The minute that's called
Well, there was the hospital, the
the hospital building. Went up there, shot up in the, just recently.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
put
I
an
didn't have
addition on.
anything to do with it.
But the old hospital building came out of your office, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and then we.
No, that has to do with the ball.
He died.
Mm-hmm.
Kibele died while they were pouring. Oh,
Foundation.
no, better than that. Second floor.
Second floor.
Oh, yeah. So then you had to carry the project on?
I carried it on.
Was
I
there,
and the men we had out there.
who else was working in the office at the time besides you two? Do you remember any names of any other men that were helping you in the office?
There's surely somebody in there, but I don't remember now. I might be able to strike this thing out. As you asked him, but can't do it anymore.
Then when Mr. Kibele died, you had to take care of the project, and was there any problems then?
I finished up, yeah.
But everything went fairly smoothly? Or?
They had a good contract.
Who was your contractor? Do you know who the contractor was?
No,
Don't remember.
it was for that job only, and I hardly remember.
Did you have any favorite contractors that you worked with?
No, anybody that wants it.
I see. Thought maybe over your experience you found somebody did some especially good work or something like that.
Oh, well, yeah. That's, this fellow had the drawings all made up. He was going to, and then he wanted to come together then, see.
Mm-hmm.
Yours is straight, mine's straight now, and mine will be straight right home. Is there anything else?
Well, we had a list of buildings that might be helpful to go over. We might be able to add some. We might be able to go through some, and see if you might be able to add some comments to. Or some, you might think of something that happened, or with that building, or something like that. And if you think of something, you might jot it down for us sometime. Like the name of the person that you work with, or something like that. That would be extremely helpful.
This is from your file. I think you did this. This is a Xerox copy of the list of the jobs that were in your office. These were on boards, manila boards, and I went and photocopied them.
Mm-hmm.
But
The
jobs and the numbers here. I was going to ask you that too. These job numbers. These are the folder numbers here, aren't they? The folders that they were in, 115-1. All the drawings were stored in the folders. then you had a system of ordering the jobs by numbers. Job number 84, 85, 86.
Oh, yeah.
Was there any way that they correlated with these folders?
I don't know. Remember.
But some of the more important jobs that you did in Muncie was the hospital and the buildings on Ball State, on the campus. And do you remember any other buildings that were that stick in your mind that might be important for us?
Well, the old building over there, I guess it's still standing, probably over.
Is this in Muncie?
Yeah.
The old hospital?
Yeah.
Oh, the old hospital.
Hospital and the old building of the we didn't, I didn't anyway, have anything to do with that old building. I don't know who designed it.
What, the administration building?
Yeah.
On campus there?
Yeah.
But you did do some additions to it, or?
Well, we put in this. Yeah. And when you do that, you're tied to skill.
Yeah. You're not starting new. You have to work with what's already there.
You did a lot of work with furniture, didn't you? Did you design furniture and woodworking, that kind of?
That was when they couldn't find anything. No building.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't throw pieces of wood away. I'd take it down to the house.
Yeah.
And put them in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd start making that stuff.
Yeah, we found quite a few of your patterns for this and that, and frames and all that. But
well, I'm sorry that I can't answer all those questions.
Oh no, we just want to find out a little bit about you, whatever we can.
Well, right now I'm doing nothing. Wife and I.
Uh-huh.
You did a lot of things with the Ball family in Muncie. You worked on some of their houses for Mrs. Ball.
Not too many. They had them all built before I went in there. That is most of them.
Did you belong to any clubs in Muncie or any social organizations or something like that? Sort of stuck to yourself, eh?
I expect they do now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know who our star are.
Mara?
No. Who's our architect now?
There's a fellow by the name of Cox there. Let's see, who else is there? There's several on there. Let's see. Wasn't there another fellow? Lee?
For who?
Keeley?
Oh, in the office, yeah, Mr. Keeley. He worked with you for a while, wasn't he? An engineer, or you took him on later on?
He's the one that we both worked for.
Cuno?
Cuno.
Mm-hmm.
When Cuno stepped out, knocked out.
Knocked down, stepped down.
And then, his daughter we got one together,
Mm-hmm.
and there were three of them, two of them. Two of them, not counting me.
Mm-hmm.
I went in and took everything up with her, and she was she wanted to put her fingers in the money that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was satisfactory to us.
Yeah.
It was on debit. I don't know. I think she's still living.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Kibele Garrard. She never got married.
Then you and Mr. Kibele got together and started a firm, or kept the firm going?
We kept it going.
Kept it going.
Yeah.
And so what were you more the businessman, and he was the person that drew the buildings, or how did the firm work then with you two?
Oh, we wanted to take this and then another, and then next another to come in, and he'd take that and spread it out. He would do when and where possible.
Did either one of you specialize in work in one part of the field, and somebody else work in some other part? You just all divided up everything equally?
We were all about the same.
Do you have any more questions?
Well, and you were by yourself then after Mr. Kibele left. How did that come about?
Yeah. Well, we couldn't agree on something. Boy, I remember. No. And we split the money. And he went his way. And I saved it.
So then, and then did you take on anybody else to work for you after he left?
I must have. My son worked in there for me.
So you're from a list. You did quite a few schools. See they've got down here school in Lincoln, Gaston, Emerson, Northern Gaston, Garfield remodeling. Let's see. Was there any special reason you got those jobs for the schools? Did they come to you, or did you just bid those out, or?
No. They want to buy, and they want to build a new building, and they want it to look like so and so.
Mm-hmm. So they would come to you.
And we did so and so.
Uh-huh.
Did they ever bring you a picture or something and say that we like this picture, or did they just describe something to you?
I don't know them how we done it.
Now, how about the Wysor block? You remember doing that? That was a whole block, wasn't it?
No. The Wysor.
You got the Wysor Grand Theater, and
We didn't build that.
mm-hmm.
I don't know who did it. That was the one on over here here's Wall Street, and then it's over here. So.
Mm-hmm. But you just did some like alteration work to that then,
Oh yeah.
remodeling or whatever. I see you have the wading pool at the park at Heaton Park.
I didn't have anything to do with that. I don't believe.
These are old ones.
Or just all the old.
Or what were you doing during the war? Did you stay on as
One or two.
well? Both, I guess. World War I. That was. Were you involved in the war, or did you stay around here? Remember that far back?
I was in the Army. I don't remember anymore. I was went to Florida,
You were stationed in Florida.
and it lasted about God, it didn't last. I don't even know when I was turned loose. Boy, it brought back here. That was, well,
But did you do anything related to architecture during the time when you were in Florida or with the Army?
no, I just dropped that. Now this Kibele, he stayed.
Oh, he stayed. He didn't go.
I think he stayed. And well, finally they run out of anything to do because didn't need any more buildings. Well, everybody had their mind on
The war.
the war.
Mm-hmm. So when you came back, you started working again, naturally.
You know. Buried out it. Oh. Oh, the big time.
A big cemetery there.
There.
Now,
you
didn't you do some work there? The gates or something? Didn't somebody?
No, I don't think we ever touched the gates.
'Cause we had some photographs of have a photo album that let's see, maybe we should have brought that. That showed the gates there by the railroad tracks. That cemetery where let's see on around there by Hoyt and all that sort of in between the river and the railroad tracks. That big cemetery
No,
there.
the cemetery was on the other side, the west side of town.
Oh, okay, that's down there by Warner Gear and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I was talking about the other cemetery up near town, right there where, let's see. We're just sort of southwest of, maybe that was, oh well, there's that cemetery. I can't think of the name of it now.
A lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you associated with Mr. Kibele before World War I?
Oh yeah.
You were, and then you came back and worked for him again?
I don't think he was well, I don't think he was living when that war broke out.
Oh, he had already died.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And when you came back, then you got with Mr. Keeley,
Yeah.
and then you stayed with him.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And then World War II, this is much later, that then a lot of people weren't building during that time also because of the war. How did that affect you? Did you start doing
Well,
anything else?
you didn't go very far.
Things were slow.
Yeah. What I have this, what I have that. You haven't got the money. George's Army, Bill, the Army.
So then, what kind of things did you do then?
Well,
Do a lot of woodwork. Then you said you'd been saving all this wood.
yeah, yeah, I did. And finally, we pulled out of there. I don't remember now. Why? I guess it's because we split. And he took it. He took it, and I went home. North of there. And then I said, well, I better not talk that up because I don't know. I've lost my rights and everything.
So when you split, how did you decide who got what in the office? You know, there was probably a lot of drawings. Did you keep the drawings of all the things that you had done, or did he keep part of it?
Well, he kept part of it. No, he didn't. I think I took all blueprints and took them home. I don't know now how I got them there.
Yeah, we have most of the things out of the office now, and I've been going through all your drawings and cataloging them and writing down what was there. Do you remember one project that stands out in your mind that seems most important to you, that you worked on all through your life?
No, I don't.
There's not one that is really significant.
The little house with maybe a woman left her boy killed in a way. She wanted to build a new house. I take one of that and build them and make help her. And make her oh. No, I wouldn't charge her. Some of them didn't charge her at all.
Do you remember her name?
No, no.
Was the house in Muncie?
Well, some of them were. I don't know. I would I'd tell them, well, why don't you build a little house here, out someplace, meet her in the church, or someplace else. And then she got money from the government, and I didn't do very many of those. I was busy at home. Well, what time is it?
I don't know. I don't know watch. Let's see the clock.
Looks like it might be getting near that time. They're moving stuff around. They bring that in the carts. They bring lunch in those carts.
Yeah.
Might be getting near that time. There's a clock over there. When did you get married?
She was
A few years ago, eh?
Yeah, I can't over this before Don was mortgage. her mother's name. I guess I'm worn out. But she was the typewriter is what I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
All this she can take care of I don't know, we found her anyway, I couldn't have done the job of it. It didn't right later without going with her, taking care of her. She does the same with me. And she could tell you more about that source. The money part of that than anybody.
Did she keep your books for you?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, I see. Well,
I'm sorry that I can't.
you think maybe it might be a good idea to talk with you and your wife sometime? Maybe she could help out a little bit?
Might if she feels that.
That might be a good idea, and try that sometime.
Well, I'll tell her what you're doing.
And you might have her write down something. If something pops into your head,
Yeah.
somebody's name or something, write that down,
Yeah.
and then we can talk about it. Well, you ready for lunch now?
No, I can't eat any lunch.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I got you on a diet?
Had me on a diet so long I wouldn't know what diet is.
I think Miss McDonald's supposed to come back. She said she was going to come back. Royal Brown Soda, Breedlove. No, Breedlove was that's McDonald's was
Oh.
the one in Brown Soda.
I don't know.
She should be back pretty soon.
She knows it.
She'll probably come get you, you think? I don't even know where your room's at.
Oh, it's on down. Falling.
Just follow the hall around, eh?
Yeah.
Just follow the hall. But I remember you got a scholarship from the. I saw something about you getting a scholarship from the correspondence school. Do you remember that? You had a little, had a certificate there, some sort of scholarship for.
Well, I didn't think much of that because by that time, it's the card didn't mean much to him.
Yeah.
That was Mr. Kibele.
How you coming?
About flat.
About flat?
Yeah.
Don't know what else to say.
Well, it's about dinner time too. You got that with you. I was scared I didn't see it over there.
No, we took
Oh.
it with us.
Oh,
No.
good.
So, yeah.
Says you're going to record this.
Yeah, we recorded earlier also.
Well, I hope I can benefit you some.
Well, any kind of light you can shed on.
My hobby was writing. I've written history of the family history,
Mhm.
and then I wrote one book of fiction, and book number 2 that I didn't have room to get in the original history book. I finished up in that second book.
And we
smaller
saw
book.
some of the photographs, I believe, and family tree, that kind of information. Did you compile that information?
That's what?
There was a family tree compiled.
No. Mine the family tree. It was taken from a story, taken from tales my grandmother told me when I was bringing 3 years old. I have a wonderful memory.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how it is now. I'm getting pretty old, 84.
Uh-huh.
And he'll soon be 90, and I'll soon be 85. So that's a long time to live.
Right, right. We're going to try to sort of a pattern, starting out with some of the earliest days, and I guess when you met Carl and that kind of thing, how you started becoming involved in the office. I guess you kept the books for a while. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or...
I didn't start till I was 70 years old.
Oh, I see.
I always wanted to write all the time I was growing up, but it seemed like it was always something. Married. I was a stenographer and bookkeeper when I was young. I worked in an office for 13 years before I was married.
Mm-hmm.
And then just one thing and then another, and I seemed like I collected antiques, bought and sold antiques, and had my own collection. And Connie was in here. She's, of course, our nephew, our niece, and I gave her my collection, a private collection. So she has a wonderful collection to begin with. But I couldn't take care of him anymore, and so of course I loved Pat, and I wanted to give him something, so I gave him the antiques. Also gave him a dining room suit, the antique dining room furniture, and several other things. I didn't want to sell them because they were family in the family, see. So I just passed them on to him.
Had you known Mr. Garrard?
How?
Had you known Mr. Garrard from when you were young?
Yes, yes. We were.
I'd call it,
Was back in high school?
He was in the First World War when
I was out of school.
I met him.
Uh-huh.
I had met him before that, but he went into the First World War, and we couldn't get married then. So when he got home, why we waited a little while, and then we're married. I was 27 years old, and he was 34, I think. 27.5.
And he was already practicing. He was an architect at that time?
Yes, he was an architect then.
Uh-huh.
So he's been a certified architect for, I think he quit when he was 72 years old. And now that's been about 20 years ago.
But during the war, then he dropped it, and did he see action? Or?
He closed the office. Well, his boss, not the man he was in business with, was his boss.
Mr. Kibele.
Before he gave half of the office, turned half of it over to him. But I don't think he made him a partner until after he came home from the war.
Do you remember the man's name?
Wasn't that right, Wade?
Just about that.
Yes. And he was, of course, a young boy. That is, I thought he was young then, what we are now. And the Ball Memorial Hospital was about the first big job that he had after he became certified. And I think if you never saw that in the beginning, did you?
Well, we had his drawings, all the drawings that came out of the office.
I'm glad you did. You know what happened to all those drawings he had?
We have them.
You know,
Cataloging everything.
it's cloth covered with vellum material. I worked those all up and made handkerchiefs out of them, and it was a shame, but we thought nobody wanted them.
Uh-huh. Well,
So-
they could be valuable nowadays for people doing research and things
Well,
like
but when he tried, didn't anybody come to want a drawing? He had it. They knew he had all those drawings. They'd come and get them. Well, he had to go out in the garage where the piece of the cabinet was stored. He'd have to go out there maybe in cold weather and fuss around about it, and they wouldn't even bother about returning it. So, or not even offering to pay him anything for it. Now, they were men with money, builders. And we just finally got tired of doing it because he would get the age where he wasn't always able to go out in the garage in certain kinds of weather, rainy weather or something like that, you know.
So many of the drawings were lost then? given away?
Those are the ones that yes, they were lost, Doc. I don't remember who all came and got those drawings. People that wanted it. He built the building, then they wanted to do some repair work. Why, or maybe make a new building, and they wanted to know something about the water lines and stuff, things like that. But they, as I said, they never returned them. But the ones that I had left, Wade gave me the idea. He told me what they were made out of, so there was cloth in between. They vellum material. And I tried to wash them, and I washed out a bunch of them, and I was just thrilled to death that the material was pure Irish linen. They got the England, and that material was sent to England, and they put a vellum material on it, and then it was ready to sell as paper, as cloth paper, to write cloth to write on. And that's what he used to make his drawings on, up until I don't know when he turned over to make write on paper. It finally got so that they did.
Save some money. Paper did. But wouldn't last too long.
That's right.
Well, I've got some of that corn down there yet. When somebody took it out.
We have most of the, we have everything out of the office that was, we took almost everything there.
It's a shame he didn't know about you boys.
Well, it's in a good home. That's one thing. It's an excellent home. It'll be preserved for ever.
Yes.
So it's really quite an incredible tool for the student.
When he quit business, he brought some of his furniture up home, and we took 2 bedrooms and made one big room, long room. You've probably seen it. And you were up there, I suppose. Joseph probably took you upstairs and showed you.
I was there. The studio up there were more or less. Did you do work there upstairs?
Very little, but
little.
he would.
About the last of it.
If somebody would get into trouble or something, and they'd come and ask him for his advice about certain things, and just little things like that. He didn't work for any money because he didn't want to be tied down like he was for so many years. So, and then it got so that it was just you didn't know who to let in your home.
Right.
There were so many robberies and beatings of old people.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so I was just afraid to let a stranger in the house. So I think after I learned that what I could do with those pieces of cloth, why I just washed them up and gave them to my friends, gave them to the family, whoever wanted them. And they were beautiful. It was beautiful material. And just as soft as, you couldn't get anything any softer than a piece of pure Irish linen.
So you you said you did bookkeeping.
I did that before we were married. I quit then when we were married.
So you didn't have any contact with the records of the
No,
office?
No contact with it.
I see.
Only when he brought his things from the office. He didn't bring everything, but he brought what he thought he wanted to keep, and in case somebody would come to him for some help, he would help them. The young architect, But
Young architects?
How?
Did you say young architects would come? Or?
Well, it was an architect when he came home. See, he quit his work then.
Mm-hmm.
He was in his 70s, I expect. Yes, he was 72 years old when he quit working in the office and moved his office up home and made one big long room out of a small room.
Right,
small
that's the room we're familiar with.
Uh-huh.
Did Wade ever bring clients home, prospective clients?
Yes.
Did you entertain?
Yes, quite often he would bring maybe a young architect that had didn't have any
When's
to be, where they weren't certified.
Right.
But they could draw. They could draw.
Mm-hmm.
But they'd come up and ask me about certain things, you know, that they weren't,
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any knowledge of.
Do you remember anybody in particular?
I was just thinking,
No, I don't think I knew the man because we had the side entrance, you know. They just came right up the side entrance.
Yeah, right. That double
And,
door.
Maybe I never saw them.
I see. I was thinking maybe you might entertain them for dinner or something.
No, he never did because I was getting too old. I was more interested in antiques. Sometimes I had a friend that had a nice car, and she had her time was all her own, and my time was all me. My time was my own, so we would go maybe about 3 times a week to different places, and that was every week. Antiquing, and we had such a wonderful time. If you want to have a good time, you want to start collecting antiques.
I didn't pay much attention to that.
He's gonna let her go off her.
Wouldn't be anything for me to put them.
Oh, I think she didn't know how. She wanted to go someplace. Ken couldn't get there. Well, I stopped my work, drive around there. I don't know what oh, just an ordinary automobile.
Well, maybe I'd be in the middle of a washing, but this friend of mine would call me and she'd say, "What you doing?" I'd say, "I'll be ready in 15 minutes." I set up the washing machine, and I would have my coat on ready. She said I had one put out the door when she got there. And but we always managed to get back in time to get supper for our husbands. But I would put a dinner in the refrigerator and something that he could warm up, you know, on the table. And that he would come home and then eat his dinner. He wouldn't have to eat in a restaurant.
I've been going through some of the things that Mr. Garrard did in the office, the furniture.
Well, this is a piece
panels.
of
Yeah,
that
I
furniture.
noticed this. I've seen the drawings for that, especially this piece here. We have a piece in the office that looks just like this. I don't know if it's a. We use it on another piece, but I recognize that.
3 of those.
Yes, he made
Each one
cupboards,
was
little
just a little
cupboards
bit
and night stands
different
and
from the one before.
lamp tables and all kinds of furniture, reproductions of antiques.
He started doing large things, and then he went down to small things, the 1/3
Well,
scale later on.
He could.
I didn't want.
Yeah.
Didn't have
He
the
made
room
a
to do
desk.
They
He
had
made Donald a desk when Donald was beginning to get on his own desk, you know. He made that desk for him, and it was very nice. It was maybe some people wouldn't have wanted it, but that was before he started to get into making furniture. But he made that at night for Don, and it was very nice. I had it up in the living room
1/3 size.
where Don could work do his schoolwork when he came home.
Did he make some for other people also? Make furniture for other people, or just for you, or in the house?
Just the house. We
It
didn't
was more of a
buy.
giveaway.
Yes. The antique, you mean?
Furniture.
Well,
Or the things
I
in cotton.
sold. No, I
Yes,
sold a
you
lot.
sent the pictures up there. The most of those was mine.
He made all these pictures in this
Hanging
room.
on the wall out there, not where we were.
He made all the pictures.
They'd like it. And then what'd you say, over here? One of them went that way.
When he would do a work, when he was still at the office, he would bring his specifications home, and I would write it, maybe just like a book, you know.
You type-
And with that money, he'd pay me because he'd have to pay somebody, and I loved to type. And I've sit up to 11 and 12 o'clock many a time, wanting to get through so I could go antiquing the next day. And I do. I wish we just did more or less what we wanted to do after he had worked so hard, you know, in the business, and he'd quit. As I said, he would help somebody out that didn't know too much about it. And we often said, wish that he knew some young boy that he could bring home and he could train him, just like Mr. Kibele trained him. And Mr. Kibele was one of the finest architects, certified architects that ever lived, I guess.
Were there many others practicing at the time when Mr. Kibele around here was practicing?
Mr. Kibele died, when we were first married.
Was this after the war or before the war?
How's that?
Did he die after the war or before the war?
He died after the first war, and long before the second. But now I don't know what kind of information you want, but if there's anything that I can tell you, because I did write his specifications for him.
Do you remember any important project that sticks out in your mind that?
Well, if he did. Well, see, there was the work that the units they made for the colored people and one for the white, the government.
On South Madison.
Yes.
Was it what was the name of that? Muncie? Muncie?
No,
It was a housing project?
It's called a
Munsonian or something like that.
no, I can't.
But it's the place there on Madison, South Madison.
Yes.
Right there below the railroad track.
There's one on that side facing the east.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, facing the east. That there was the colored people, and then the white people were over here.
Now, do you remember anything about getting the contracts or anything? How you went about getting the?
He had to work for the government for that. Well, that was a government proposition.
I
But
see.
It was made. The plans were made through his office.
I see. Now, did they contact you about this project, or did you contact the public housing project?
Well, I can't tell you. I don't remember.
I see.
Might have been advertised or?
No, I don't think it was advertised. Now, Mr. Kibele was very, very well known all over the community and all over the state of Indiana. And he must have been living in, that must have been one of his last jobs. I think they had their office on Adams Street, and Mr. Kibele remodeled a real old house and made a new building out of it. And then they brought their work down here. And Way was a partner of his at that time. But Mr. Kibele did, while he was living, took care of most of the business end.
And then Wade did the drawings and things like that?
Yes.
Do you remember anything? Well, the characteristics of Cuno?
Well, they had to.
Was he a tall? I mean, do you have any sort of
Yes,
description?
Mr. Kibele was tall. Cuno is his
Cuno.
first name.
Cuno.
Well, Cuno, and he was
Avid.
had a reputation of being one of the finest. And what we've had, he was just like a private
One of the worst.
tutor to him, you know.
I was on one of the worst.
Oh.
Sorry.
He just told Webb, he said, I've taught you everything I know, now go ahead. So he then took over his share of the business.
Was he on his own for a while, or did he get a partner right away?
Mr. Kibele?
No, after Mr. Kibele died.
Oh, he had a partner right away.
Mr. Keeley?
You remember anything about him? Any characteristics?
No, he's gone now. He did now.
Well, do you remember?
He was it's supposed to be the engineering. Do all the engineering work.
That's right. I couldn't think of that this morning.
Engineering of the work. And Wade did all the drawing, the specifications.
We threw him that job. We took care of another.
He did the structures and all the math and calculations.
I believe he worked for wait a minute now. I'm mixed up in here. I have to say that's north instead of south. I think it's just the reverse. Actually, but there was a But we wanted structural steel. Yeah.
Indiana Bridge.
Indiana Bridge,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. That was in the east part of town.
See, what do they call that part? Well, around Burlington, let's see, Burlington Drive, all that was sort of the industrial area, wasn't it? Trying to think of that part.
When he moved over, when he moved, put his office at home, we had a lot of geographics.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Or you gave them the university, is that
gave
correct?
them, we gave them to the Ball State College,
Mm-hmm.
and I expect they're still there.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of architectural books pertaining to drawing and drafting, and we've had quite a number of books, which he did bring home, but the greater part of them he gave them to Ball State.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that. We had
Probably in the library.
You haven't looked at it, right?
Yes, probably. I'll look hard.
I guess you could go to any of those books and see what any kind of a building you wanted to do.
Right.
And I know that they did because they came after the books, and we had a pile stacked up about that high for them. We got so we couldn't put them in parts because they fall over or something. We were working it. I went up and helped him to move, that is, to pack the books and things, the things that he wanted to keep and the things he wanted to give to the Ball State.
Mm-hmm.
And we finally just, he'd hand them to me, a book to me, and I'd lay it down. And I didn't always get it laid straight, you know. So when they came, they just picked them up and packed them up in, I don't know how they came. They might have had a truck come to get them. They'd have to have a truck. But if you wanted to look at them and see what they were, they would be there at the college.
That would be something interesting to find out.
Yeah, I'm sure now that's.
Dates.
And when we did it, we said, what a shame that we didn't know a young architect that we could give these books to.
Do you remember any of the names of the people that you gave the books to or that you dealt with?
And the greater part of them all went to Ball State.
Yeah, we'll find that.
Yes, you didn't give anything away only to Ball State, did you, Wade?
No.
What you didn't give, you brought home.
Well, the other
Did Wade give you any of the books at home?
The other way, there's a place over in now this is north. There's no in here we're near where we are. There was a it was well, skip it.
You see, his memory is bad. He kept me so many. I've asked him questions about it.
Yeah, we've got some of the books that we got with the rest of the office. We have quite a few. And we were cataloging those.
I'm glad you did.
Those must be the
We
ones
had
that
bookcases up there. It's a shame. Did Joe give you the bookcases?
No, we have, the only case we have is the drawing drawer, the drawing case.
Well, he used to have all those things full, and then I had cabinets out in the kitchen. I brought the cabinets home because they were so nice to have to store things in. And cupboards, they were antique cupboards. I brought them home, cleaned them up, brought them home, put them in the utility room. And they held about as much kitchen junk as they held books up the office. But they made nice storage places. They sold. They didn't have any trouble selling those at all.
Yeah. Do you remember any magazines that Wade would have around the house that he would read? Any kind of clubs or anything that he belonged to? That kind of thing. You know, any sort of architectural magazines or anything like that?
Now, you mean?
Well, no, that in the past that he would
Oh.
read.
Well, yes, he had these architectural magazines,
Mhm.
and
I can't name it. Got the name.
there were so many things that he threw away like that when he was up the office. He didn't bring home because he knew we wouldn't have any place for them.
Yeah.
Did he read other books besides architectural books, like for pleasure, like just literature or poetry, or did you?
Oh,
did you
he
read
took
it?
all kinds of
Your,
magazines.
my, her.
Well, both. Do you remember any of the books that you read that you liked?
And books in
They
particular.
didn't have many books in architecture. They had that.
You know, that's funny.
The books in architecture would have been filed in the schools and looking for things like that. It wouldn't be to send the guy and you send your guy out and it once worth it. Or I'm across the
He loses a thought. He has a thought and he loses it.
I don't know. Cross it out.
I was concerned when they said Joseph told us that you were going to come sometime and have entered to talk to him. But then I didn't know whether he could or not because the questions I asked him concerning his past work and something about the office, he doesn't remember.
It might be helpful if he does to jot down the name or something. Something might start, coming to him, and that might be tremendously helpful. Somebody partners or anybody
Yeah.
dealt with or something like that might be quite useful.
Anything at all about his office or his career?
Well, now there was another man young man that worked up there when Wave and I were married, but he left the office and went to Indianapolis, and we never heard from him after that.
You don't happen to know his name, do you?
No, his name was, no, I can't tell.
What did he do? Maybe I can help.
What, dear?
What did he do?
Well, he worked on drawing the same as you did, but I don't know whether he did any important thing or not. There was a lot of tracing and things like that people that didn't have any much knowledge of the architecture work could do. They could trace the drawings. But now at first when I went up there, they penciled the drawings in and then they inked them in. But they got so they didn't do that because other people were doing away with the cloth. It was too expensive. I think Wade told me that cloth years and years ago, some of it was almost 100 years old. And you would be surprised. You wouldn't think it was, the material was just like new.
It lasts a long time.
And I said if I'd have known that we were going to get old so quick, I didn't think about old age, I just didn't think it was, I thought we just had plenty of time. But we didn't. Because when I started to fall, that's when my trouble began. And then the what hurt me the most was that I couldn't write anymore. And then my eyes went bad on me. And I have a story right now in my head that I would like very much to have worked on it. I was all ready to work. The day I fell, I was all ready to put my typewriter out and paper and everything all ready. I always got everything all ready when I was going to write. And if I did that very day, about noon, and I had a bad concussion in my head, which knocked me out of my right senses for about 4 weeks. And then I broke this arm and this shoulder. So that just kind of put me out for, my bones didn't heal for 4 months when I came here. But Oh, I can remember we used to have these businessmen used to call it, would come and see where he would, you know, when he still had his office. But I never paid much attention to it then because I was young, and about that time I think I had a little boy. We had one child. Donald was 18 and he was killed in the Second War. The only child we had. And of course that kind of knocked both of us out for a long time. And Donald had made a complete set of drawings for a home he was going to build, he said. He was only 10 years old.
Oh, is that right? Did he ever work in the office with his father?
Don, yes.
He did a lot of work.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
When he got to be 16, 17 years old, he went up to the office and worked right along with Wade.
Oh, is that right? Did he do any buildings, design houses or anything like that?
No,
or
no, he was too
just
young.
did the drawings?
No, he was too young.
After that.
He was going to college after that, after he came home from the service, but of course, he didn't get to come home. That was pretty hard. That was the hardest thing on us that we ever went through. Only one child, you know, and then took him out. And within the first year, they had him killed.
Was he planning on becoming an architect?
He was going to be an architect. See his pictures up there. I was right with us before Clark. I said he was just a joy. He was just too good to live with. I know. But he was a barn architect. He loved the work.
When he was young, did he have any hobbies that helped him? Did he draw?
Oh, he had all kinds of hobbies. He worked with wood just like his father did, making picture frames and little pieces of furniture. Donald was gone before Wade took up furniture. Wade took this up, making this furniture, after he quit the office.
Oh, I thought he'd been doing this all through.
Oh, no. When he did his architectural work for years, he didn't take this up until after he got home and had retired from architecture.
Did he have any hobbies while he was an architect? Did he do anything?
My son?
No, Mr. Garrard.
Well, woodworking. He could do almost anything. If he wanted a little job done, he could do it.
So he was a handyman.
Yes, he just could do
Did
not only draw, but he could work. You know, you remember those leaded glass windows?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the one at the vault at Meeks's Memorial House, the window where you go into the door, where you go into the sanctuary, that has a leaded glass window. He put it there. He made it and put it there.
But didn't Meeks Mortuary, didn't you design that building? Yeah, that came out of, was that when you were still with Mr. Kibele, or was that when you were?
No.
That was later on.
No.
Well, he would do things at night when he wasn't in the office, working in the office, and he's home in the evening. He had hobbies down in the basement that he'd do. And then, of course, after he brought his office up home, and a long time after Mr. Kibele had been gone, why, he brought his office up and put it upstairs. But as I said, he never worked for any remuneration of any kind. He just did it all more so to help somebody. Many of the time he said, well, he wished that he could just have found a young boy and brought him home, give him a home, and trained him. It's like he did then with Donald later on. Of course, we had Donald listed with a college of architecture, and that was over at, you know, it was a Catholic institution.
Notre Dame?
Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Notre
they
Dame.
called it.
He was already listed in Notre Dame, so that he would continue his work with his father after he got into college. he probably could have done it, done without, because he would trade him, you'd be right there with him, you know. But no, we wanted him to go to college and finish out his architecture because there's always something new coming out.
Now, I know Mr. Garrard never went to college for architecture.
No.
We talked to you earlier about the correspondence schools.
No, he didn't. Mr. Kibele trained him, and probably he got more education. He would have gone into some school.
Is that right?
We often said that Mr. Kibele did more for him than a college could have done, because he only had the one boy to train, and he gave him all his attention. So that's more than what I expect you boys get, is private, personal attention. So we think that Wade was a very fine architect, not particularly because he's my husband, but I know the kind of work he did and how he would do it. And he was always so honest and straightforward about his work, and I always appreciated that, you know.
I can tell you a little
I
story.
was proud of him. I was proud to say it.
I hadn't been with the big boy,
Cuno?
Cuno,
Yeah.
and he'd make the drawing, then he'd turn it over to me, and I'd fix it up. And numbers, not putting numbers down freehand, you know, was the first thing that he saw, and he couldn't do it, couldn't get it make it look right.
And you could do it.
And I
Yeah.
just tell me what you want to say.
That was our son.
We did.
He's 18 years old there.
We did work
Just
down
before he went into the army.
Down at the next one, south of here, where we worked.
It's like,
Oh.
Did you see it?
Well, anyway, he went down there. And it was what is the name of that town south of Muncie?
Where about was that, honey? I didn't hear that.
South of Muncie.
Can you tell me what he said?
the town south of Muncie.
Name of the town? I don't know.
Well,
Albany's no.
I know it just well, he went down there sometimes twice a week. Because he was getting
Job.
jobs started, you know, and that car run in there.
Streetcar?
Well, not
Trolley?
Charlie. Well, they had a name for it. Well, he would go down there, tell us where he was going, and what he's going to do, and when he'll be back. And he told me we were working on a resident house, breaking up residence. And I was detailing it. That was all practically 3/4 of the day. And he said, you better go on with that stairway. I won't be back soon. He told me just about how much it was going to take. But I went in. I drew the thing by hand to see what it was going to look like. Well, down here. And I didn't like that. There's another one. And I had all afternoon to do it.
Did
So,
Joseph give you one of his books that I wrote on specifications? They were out there in the back room in that cupboard. There was 2 or 3 of them.
I think
That would have been a help to you in writing specifications.
we have
Did he give you any of them?
we have a bunch of specifications. We have a lot of specifications.
Well, I wrote these on the typewriter
Right.
of a certain building.
Right. We have quite a few bound.
Yes.
Hard.
So you're working on this stair.
When he came back, he looked at it. Well, we got this wrong. Well, I says, I don't know. I didn't. So I wonder how to do that. We were in Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, he said, get you another piece of paper. Make it over again. Oh, it wasn't much fun. Like that. And he saw that I was getting tired of doing that thing.
Yeah.
Well, he says, you go right ahead now and show it the way it ought to be. Well, I just already done that. When he said, well, what did you say? And he went to downtown. Downtown was down in well, he said, I got it out, finished it up. And he says that it won't work. But doggone it, I says, I'm losing money here. I'm losing you money. That was
Because it was taking you so long.
Heck, he said, don't think of money anymore. You know what to do now, boy. And I practically did the drawing all of myself. Some people wouldn't do it. Won't look after it. Nobody else. I was just willing to.
I've seen your drawings and Mr. Kibele's drawings, and you're like you said, your lettering and all the way you do your drawings are much finer than his.
Yeah.
Toward the end, was he getting shaky or old? Or?
Yes, he was. He didn't die young.
Yes, that was right.
Well, he didn't die that
Before we were married.
Yeah. But,
I knew him when I was about 22 or 24 years old. And then, as I said, we went together for some time, and then we had Bloomington War. And I didn't want to get married until after that, so we were married in 1922.
Did he ever say anything about anything that inspired him to become an architect, to take this training? Did he ever say whether it was somebody who influenced me or
Why he got started?
why he got
well, he did tell me he wasn't there one day about the fellow that was they called the architect up in it's either Bluffton, right in that territory. But he didn't know everything. But a bricklayer, he couldn't be. Of course, that's outside work and rough work. He was beginning to get old. He wanted to get in the whole thing, wood and stuff, and everything, all kinds of material.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that man, I forget what his name was, but he followed him out and down to Muncie. And,
Now you're talking about Cuno?
Yeah, Cuno and the building.
Now the bricklayer followed Cuno down?
Yeah. No.
Cuno followed the bricklayer.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then, I skipped. They were, Kibele wasn't the architect of the, at that time. He wasn't the architect for the,
Was he a bricklayer?
the big one selling stuff there on,
Square?
yeah,
The courthouse?
no,
City Hall? Big building?
Not one of the
no,
blocks.
no, it's not on Main Street, it's on George. Now then, I don't know where I am.
Now you're talking about the bricklayer.
They got that Johnson block. Johnson was the name of the people that put that thing up.
Uh-huh.
That's where Mr. Kibele's office was.
Yeah,
Johnson.
yeah, we were up there for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then lost again.
So you're talking about the bricklayer and
Bricklayer, and he finally, the head bricklayer, contractor, I guess he was, of the,
superintendent?
Superintendent, yeah. So, I guess it wasn't very good.
Well, you talked about the bricklayer and
Oh,
the Johnson block and Cuno.
Johnson block was put up by the Johnsons, of course. There's money, and this fellow that
To follow Cuno down, right? The bricklayer.
yes, he turned to be a bricklayer.
Mm-hmm.
That's your time.
After
Mr. Kibele died shortly after they started to build a hospital. And of course, after he died, Ray took it over and finished building it. And that was his first big job, And
what came after that? What the buildings on Ball
well,
Street?
there was the big building on Main Street. Oh, what lodge was that?
The
Masonic Home.
Masonic home?
Yeah, that was one of his drawings.
That's came next after the hospital?
Yes.
Do you remember
And
anything
I
important
think
about
that was after the hospital. And then there's the Meeks Memorial Building.
Was the name still
And
the same?
several buildings out there in the Ball State.
The old science,
Yeah.
the science hall, the
Yes.
administration building, the
No,
gymnasium.
The administration building.
And the old high school that they turned down just recently. Well, that was his.
Yeah, Garfield School and some of the other schools out there. Down at that time too.
Yeah, we were asking some questions about how did he happen upon these school jobs. It seemed like he's doing quite a few of them. You know, whether
You said something about how they went about getting their jobs.
Yeah.
Most of the jobs came to them right in the office. They would
walk right in office.
walk right in and said they wanted the building. What they wanted.
Well, there probably weren't too many architects in Muncie at the time.
And they didn't.
Once in a while, it's do another company. For the Carter, for the
Ball Brothers were
We need to get you a
instrumental
map.
in building most of the several of the big buildings in Muncie. They were, the Ball Hospital is one, and the college is another one. The balls were instrumental in building them in the first place.
Did Wade do a plan for the campus? Plan out where the buildings went?
No.
You didn't do that?
They didn't need a campus when we first started.
All they had was one building. But then, what was the first building that you put on the campus? Remember that? Is that the?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
What is that biggest building? The first one?
Oh, that biggest building.
Well, there's.
That's been put up there.
Yeah, that was the administration. But then there was the gymnasium and the library, and the science building.
We made a back off here's the looking this way. And out over in here they built a step up to have well they played ball when they played well
It was a field place.
yeah.
The track, football court.
Yeah, track. All that stuff. The gymnasium. Well, you did that, didn't you?
Oh yes.
You had a lot of trouble with that, didn't you? Change a lot of things, the details.
Yes,
And
I don't know, but
what was the problem with that? How come the things got changed so much?
well, I can't tell you about that because I wasn't out there. They did it to us. Brought a crew in here and worked on that.
But weren't the drawings changed? You gave them a first scheme and then they didn't like it, or you had to redo it?
It was in a place where it would be better if it was outside or pointing that way or this way. No, I think they took most of the material out of there. They do.
The gymnasium?
The Mason?
No, the ball gym.
Oh. Well, I think a lot of the trouble in that was he would make a design, and this one maybe one of the Ball brothers didn't like. They were the boss of the job really. They were built the building in the first place. But then they probably would get somebody else to make a drawing to put in there. Well, he wouldn't have anything to do with that then.
Oh, I see.
But Wade was the person. He didn't argue with him. He tried to sell it to him. He either took it or they left it. Life was too short to argue with him about it.
Right. You did a lot of those buildings had a lot of limestone work on them, didn't they? The carving, that kind of stuff. Did you have much contact with people in southern Indiana?
Yes. Thinking back. I don't think back far enough.
He was always busy until the war came along. The second war came along, and then they didn't have nobody was doing anything. So he went to work for the what was the name of that automobile company? The make of an automobile in Muncie.
Oh, Ducko or
They were here in
Chevrolet?
then they had a place.
A Ford?
Auburn or
I don't know whether
We have yeah.
I
Lafayette?
can't.
Dodge, Chrysler, Ford, Chevy.
They had a factory out in the northwest part of town, way out.
They made automobiles, or they made parts?
Parts, I think.
Can you remember that, Ray? The company you went to work for during the war?
I can
You
forget
worked
that.
for them in the
You worked in
drafting department or
Oh.
the
Engineering department or whatever.
well, it was his work was making plans for guns, big guns out there, and he made came home one evening and made a replica of this gun and what it would do, and he took it out to the shop, and the boss sent it to the people someplace else in another town, I think, or another state where they had a bigger factory, and they were quite impressed with it. And it was a work drawing. It was work.
Did it ever get made?
I don't know whatever became of it. You remember who you gave that to? But it's been some toy for a young boy. Maybe that's what they bought it for. I don't know. It was to shoot this gun. Plans to so that show them what they could do with it. Now that was what he did during the war. And then after the war was over, he came back to his office. And he worked, I think his first job was for the
No, we got
in repairing a big building for a lodge,
Was that the Elks Lodge?
Elk Lodge. Now the old Elks Lodge perhaps is still standing on Washington Street. Is not his building.
Oh, is that right?
It had, he said, too much gingerbread on it. Fancy, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's still standing. I'm not sure. It probably is still standing. Back on beyond, west of the courthouse on Washington. And it was a big brick building. Well, Wave didn't have that.
He did remodel it?
There was another architect here in Muncie that, I don't know what his name now. He committed suicide.
Oh, really? Too
I
much
can't-
pressure?
You know, I didn't have much to do with names and things like that, and it didn't stick in my memory when I hear him talk about these things. But
Do you remember any other ups and downs of the office, like during a depression? Or,
sure, we went through a depression. I'll say we did.
What happened in those days?
Well, just didn't anybody have if they were smart enough to save enough money to live on. Well, they live, they eat. If they didn't, why, I don't know how they got along.
Did you keep on working in architecture? Or did you stop for a while there?
Not very much architecture. There might have been a little bit of repair work done or something like that, but there's nothing big. No big jobs at that time. But he was very lucky. Of course, Mr. Kibele had built the reputation of the office up. And
So did you keep, was the name Kibele and Garrard, was that kept for a while after he
it was
died?
Kibele and Garrard first.
Kibele and Garrard.
And then when he died, why, they made it Garrard and Keeley.
Was that right away after he died, or did you keep the name for a while until?
Not too soon after it was I expect within a year. Within the year. See, Jim Keeley worked in the office, the same as Wave did, only Wave was a partner. And Keeley worked for them. But when Mr. Kibele made out his will, he made it so that the office would stay, the help would still be there. If they were still there, they would still be there. And it was kind of a peculiar way to put it, I thought, but that was the way he did it. And then they had, money wasn't very plentiful, you know. And they would have to wait to make the buildings, and then they'd wait for course, they did that anyhow. Any drawing. No money was collected until the building was finished. And if they worked on a percent basis, if they worked on time and material, I guess they could get their money sooner than that. But
Did you ever have like, didn't they issue bonds in the buildings? Like you would have part of an investment in the building. Did you ever receive payment that way? Oh, I know we talked to Phil. Instead of that you'd be paid partially in cash and partially in bonds from the building.
not that I know of.
So we ran across a fellow. It seemed sort of unusual, you know, for a way they would have, you know, part interest in the building as well as being, you know, paid a certain cash amount.
Well,
that
of
way
course
they
they didn't have it. Mr. Kibele had a daughter. She was a school teacher. And when he died, of course, the building went to her. And Mr. Kibele had in it that way was the office was to be kept there and would go right along, just as though he was there. But of course, Way was he would have made a poor boss because he didn't like to boss anybody. That's the way I was. I never liked to boss anybody. I would have made a poor hand and put at the head of an office because I just didn't like to tell somebody what to do. But now I can't think of anything else because when I wrote my book of fiction, I called it People Helping People. And it started out by a young man building so that they wouldn't fall down in these big tornadoes that Kansas have, you know. So many of them have their houses torn down. And his father had left him quite a lot of money and wanted him to build his son, who was a young architect, to build a building. That was my story. And I put in it just like I remembered. Stretched concrete for floors, you know, and iron rods in the cement, keep it from cracking. And people that read my book said, "How in the world did you know what to write?" I said, "Well, I wrote specifications for my husband for so many years. I just remembered that, and it was funny. I would write this stuff, and then I'd get he'd read it and tell me if it was right or not. And nearly always he would say, 'It'll pass.'"
Was any of this true? Did you take any ideas from real life?
No.
It was just all made up.
This was the house was supposed to be built underground. Those underground houses.
Something like this. This is practically.
Yes, and I think that I had the idea. I was the first one to have the idea, but I didn't get it down on paper quick enough. And I had all my stories were read by editors, and good reports on every one of them, all three of them.
Did you ever get it published?
And the thing was, it would cost a small fortune to have it published. And then after they were published, they wanted me to sell the books. Well, I was too old to get out and sell books. And anyhow, it would cost about $35 or $40 to have one book bound. Well, now you see that book would have to sell so much in order to make my expenses on the expenses I had to having it published. So I had an agent to pay. And they tried to talk me into it, but I said, "No, we don't touch our savings and go into it that deep. If I'd been younger, it'd been different." But I think they were just a little bit surprised that I was just a woman and I could write a thing like that really was workable. And I said, "Well, no, it isn't so surprising." I said, "I've been writing things like that practically ever since I've been married." Well, I bought 4 new typewriters during this is the last one I bought. And it has written many a specification, right? This one has written specifications.
Do you remember when you started using reinforced concrete and new materials, started introducing iron, that kind of thing?
Yes. can't remember any one spot,
Mm-hmm.
but on a certain year, come in there, they begin to use cement.
Mm-hmm.
They were using it when you built.
And then it worked up into above finally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I expect it took 15, 20 years to do that.
Did you like to use new materials, or did you wait until they were tested before you started using them? Or did you try them out right away?
They tested it, had to be tested.
Yeah, but did you wait for other architects to start using them, or did you start out right away and be the first to use them?
Both.
When around this very later in the 40s and 50s, when the gingerbread style went out and more plain buildings were started being built, how did that change your ideas about design and architecture?
It changed long term it had changed when he left the office and came up home.
And he was still doing work after that.
No,
No?
he didn't do anything on any of these newfangled buildings because he didn't think very much of the way they were built.
Oh, is that right?
He said they were built so they'd hold up about 10 years, and then they'd be, well, look at our new courthouse in Muncie.
Mm-hmm.
It had been built, I don't know when it was built, but chances are before 1800. And when they tore it down, there were walls that were 3 feet thick.
Mm-hmm.
What did they put up? Do you know what they put up?
Oh yeah.
Pretty thin.
There's big cracks in that wall now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long do you think that's going to last?
Now we have some drawings. I'm not sure where they're Cuno's drawings of the courthouse. Now, do you know where the Cuno did that? We have watercolor drawings.
There's a watercolor painting or a rendering, a large rendering of a courthouse for
Well, that was long before Way was.
Yeah.
I don't expect he was born yet.
Oh, really?
He's born 1889, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born 1894.
Yeah, in those days, buildings, well, they had more money to spend on buildings, and materials didn't cost so much.
They're spending 5 or 6 times more money on buildings today that they build than they did when he was working. A young architect, you fellas are just in time, because you can get a lot more. They work on percentage, and sometimes there's only 3%
Mm-hmm.
the cost of the building, and maybe they'd have to hire some help to get it finished. Well, they weren't making near as much money as what you could make today if you were certified architects.
If we were in for the money.
Well, yes, that's if you were making the money that the architects are making today, and they don't have half the building that they would when he's putting them up. That bald hospital is built so strong that when they tore out a piece of it to repair the first time they added to it, they had an awful time. They never got it torn out. It was put in there so strong.
Yeah, well, that's important.
They're not building them like that now.
No, that's for sure. They're trying to get by with as little as they can. Sometimes.
Well, they don't want to. They must think the money is going to last forever, but it isn't. Sometimes we're going to have a big blow up, and then everything's going to go down.
Do you think there'll be another depression or something?
I don't think. I wouldn't say anything about that, for I wouldn't know about it. But nearly everything that I can think of since I've been living is gone way high, and then you go into the stores and buy it, and you think, well, I don't. Maybe I ought to spend the money for that. It's too high. It's cheap to what things are today. Look, $54 for a pair of shoes. Now, and $22.50 for a pair of baby shoes. That's what Connie bought for her baby for the shoes recently for $22.50. Now, you used to go into a store and get a baby shoe for $1.98. The best shoe, probably better made than what she paid $22.50 for. Now, I paid $15 for these shoes when I got them before the Depression. I was sick quite a while and didn't wear them. Well, I finally was glad I had them because they were so comfortable on the feet. And you know, this shoe today is selling for $50-some. I know because I got a pair of them. They're comfortable, sure, they're comfortable. There's this last word in comfort. But how, and they're not made a bit better than what these are made. But that's the way things are. And usually when they do that, and at the past, if it works out that way, things go so high and then something bursts. And down come the prices. So I think that's what, I think that when they find out about these new buildings going bad so quickly, I think they'll begin to open their eyes, a new generation will, and say we want better built buildings. Now let's think of that old courthouse, how long it lasted.
The
Well,
Delaware County.
It was built before. Let's see, it was built before. And I don't want to say that it was built before Civil War. No, I wrote, when I get mixed up with my history, I wrote about the family history. But I know that the Baptist people, I'm a Baptist, the first church they had was before the war. That's it, before the war. And they had a little, they went into the basement of the courthouse and held their church. I remember that. They went into the basement of the courthouse and held their first church. And then they had built a little brick building right across from our library, present library. And that little building was, the fence that was put around it, my grandfather put it around there. And then he was an architect and a builder, but they didn't call them architects in those days. They just, the architecture work went in with the building. And he designed and built the old Baptist church.
What was your uncle's name?
Huh?
What was your uncle's name?
Silas Kibele.
Well,
That was your grandfather, wasn't it?
Was your grandfather's name Kibele?
No.
No. Weren't you talking about your grandfather that was an architect and a builder?
But I say they didn't call them architects in those days. The builder had to make his own plans.
He was Cyrus?
Afterward, they had architects to do that work. And the builder just built the building. It was on paper.
How was his last name spelled? How did you spell it?
Cabolt. Now we have Cobalt here in Muncie. Used to be in the dairy industry. They spell it Cobalt. Well, it's probably another branch of the Cobalts. But he built that building, and I remember he was in the Civil War when they lived in a little house that he had built for his bride. And he was in the Civil War when that was on, and he served when he came home. There was no work to do, and somebody told him about the Muncie had a gas boom, and there's plenty of work. So he loads his family on a truck on a big covered wagon. And they go to Muncie. And then the Civil War, that was right after the Civil War was over. So I date things from the Civil War and from the First War and from the Second War. I can kind of keep the dates in my head that way.
Right.
So I said courthouse was built after, I think, the Civil War. Right, maybe it might have been built, yes, I think it was built after the Civil War. I don't have the date on that. 1800, it was built in early 1800s maybe. But of course the Civil War was over in 1865, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyhow, when he came to Muncie, it was after the beginners of the first church had started to build up the church. They had moved from the courthouse, so it could have been built just before the Civil War. But they had moved and gone over into this little brick building across from the library. And that's her grandfather joined that church. As soon as he and his wife came to Muncie, they got into that church. And I have a picture. No, I don't have it anymore. I started seeing it home. I did have a picture of the different years of the Baptist. And I have a book in here now that they published, the Baptist Church published in the last 50 years, the membership and what they have done. And it mentions his name in the last 50 years as being a member of the church, and that he built the old church.
Do you remember doing any work with the architect, Muncie Architectural Ironworks? Do you remember anything about that place at all? Did you use any of their, they would, I suppose, make standard castings. Did you ever use any of their castings in your buildings, or were they sort of?
No. Well, they were made for the building. They're putting it in.
I see. It's custom design.
Yeah.
I see. Did they ever do any work for you?
What?
Oh, I see. Do you remember any specific buildings you used?
No.
Try. But at least you did use their services, right? And along with the Indiana Bridge Company, you used it, right? And let's see. Do you remember any other companies that you used materials from? Any specific, like your bricks? Did you get your bricks from a special place?
There was a brick man here, company.
What was his name? Oh, company.
Well, he was a starter. I forget.
You remember where they're located at?
No.
It's such a shame.
That's all covered over.
People have to grow older.
Houses.
Part of
He
being
used to
young.
be-
You know.
He used to be so intelligent.
No.
Well, I'm telling you, he don't like me to say that, but he had that reputation.
Yeah.
He was a young fellow that could sit down and talk about anything. And you know, I miss that because he used to be the talker, and I'd ask him about something, how something this was made or that why that happened. He'd know it. And he could tell you about it. But now, old age does such pitiful things to people, to everybody.
What's the thing that you think influenced you most in your life or your architecture? Well, just anything that you can remember is fine.
It's together.
Painters.
Painters? Did you like to look at old paintings, or did you do any painting yourself?
Yes, he painted the picture of the Masonic temple. Yes, and
Delineated?
There for a while, but you don't suppose you would see a log cabin painted.
You mean the wood painted or
outside.
he painted those pictures and have them framed.
We saw something like that where we'd stick our ears out.
Mm-hmm.
Wondered what they're going to do with that.
How did you get some of your ideas for your buildings?
Well, they'll give it to you if you want
Did you look at other buildings? Or?
Just I had to do something, I suppose, when he got through high school.
it. 4 or 5 of us went out of Muncie at the same time, which was, let's see, it was steam car train. And what did we do? Oh, the coming. Well, amen.
Right. 4 or 5 you left Muncie, you were
Go out
4 or
and see.
5 friends of yours?
Yes, they asked me to go along.
Go on a trip.
We'll go over here. So and so lives in this. He's using this damn and iron. Somebody's going to get killed sometime. Oh, no. Let's go over and look at such and such a building. It's 2 stories high. Good roof on it. Stuff like that.
Were these other architects that you went with, or just friends of yours?
France, maybe North.
You know, everything changes with the passing of the years. Everything. I don't know what it is. People change.
It changed every time.
We both have seen a lot of Muncie grow.
Well,
90 years and 85, just about 85 for me. And there's been a lot of changes in Muncie since then. And I can look back and see how people have come up and from their ideas and all were a little bit on the lower level. And then as they come up, they would get a little better. They learn a little bit more. Building the same way. Put different things, made them modern, you know, with electricity and bathtubs. And they didn't put bathtubs in to put coal in. A lot of people would do that at first, I've been told. They didn't know what else to use the tub for, but they'd rent a house. And they'd use it to store coal in for their winter. Well, now you wouldn't expect anybody to do a thing like that now. They're bath-minded. So they've got the latest things, and I suppose they'd keep on till there'd be something far different than what we're using today. But that's just the same way with architecture. I can see when I look at that courthouse, it makes me almost sick to my stomach. I think that our building would be such a looking. It looks more like a state reformatory or something. That's what it puts me in mind of.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I didn't want to look at it for a long time. But of course I finally did when they'd take me out in the car and I'd have to go past it. I'd look at it and I could see. And I saw a very big crack in one side of it, and I asked my niece that was taking me, I said, "Is that a crack in that building?" She said, "Nothing else." Now, they wouldn't do that, though, when they were on a little bit lower level. Of course, they had bathtubs, I suppose, in the college, when they first built the college. I imagine they put in bathtubs for that time. They had anyway.
But the Ball State?
Yes.
Well, the dormitories had showers in them. I
Well,
guess the first dormitory there was it Elliott Hall? That was one of the oldest ones, right?
Oh, yeah, it was started.
Yeah, maybe it was some. Yeah, but they all had one bathtub in the bathroom, and then they had showers. Did you study any history through the school? Other architects, other famous architects that were practicing at the time. Did you know any of that?
I didn't know any of them.
Or see their work?
New York and Chicago and California.
Who was your favorite of that at that time, the old one?
Like at that time before what they're doing. I can read the paper later on after all the building is finished and everything full up. And drop it. Let's go someplace else.
Did you ever take any ideas that you saw in the paper? Just all came out of your head?
I think so.
Well, we've forgotten a lot. Both of us have forgotten a lot.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
I had a wonderful memory, but it's I noticed the last year or two, I forget things easily.
Well, I hope that if I ever reach your age, my memory will be as sharp as yours.
Well, I hope you boys have good luck. And I think you will, because there seems to be money pouring out to do things. No amount of money. It was when he built, they had to keep that down, keep the cost down, keep it down. It's costing so much. Why, they put as much money in one section of a building now as they did then, and never think anything about it. The money that they put in the big building a few years ago, they put that now in just one section of the building. That's about the comparison of it, the difference in the price of the buildings.
Well, you were able to stick fairly close to your projected cost because of your detailing, weren't you? You knew what was going into your work, so you could give them a price and stick to it. That seems to be the key today.
Of course, a lot of buildings built with engineers. There weren't architects at all, just engineers.
What do you think about that?
Well, that's all right for certain buildings.
It was marvelous, so they could put a piece of building on paper, and after making the specifications and all, they could tell the owner what it was going to cost him. And Waverly always came within a very close margin of that what he said it would cost.
Right, that's the key right
Unless
there.
they change their mind and they say, oh, let's do it this other way. Well, Wade would say, well, that's going to cost you more money. Well, how much? Well, keep the cost down. But they want the other because they thought it was better. The idea was better. And maybe Wade would tell them about they could do better by doing it this way than they were doing it the other way. Well, but keep the cost down. They don't say that now. It's get it built. Don't make a difference how much money. Get it up.
Did you ever build any models? Small models, scale models of the building, the facades and that kind of thing to show the people, the clients? Yeah, we do a lot of that at school.
When you started out to design a building, did you just sit down with a piece of paper and start drawing, or did you build a model right away, or how did you start out?
Well, a little story. Now, this is not a real story. A friend of yours jumps in the how's the weather, so on and so forth. And somebody has been going to build a house. Well, these two people talk that up, and it begins to spread. And before that house was built, most of the people knew what it was going to be. No, it's nothing except hold a check out, make your check small. But don't throw anything away. You want this, this would be better. This would be better than that. Well, look how long these buildings stand. You have to take them all to get them down. Now then, say, well, what do you want? Well, I want to do something with it. Give you the idea what you're going to do with it. And then start out. And land, at that time, why don't you build it up today? Well, that's what I want, the latest. When they get done, it's 3 times the size of it. Yeah.
3 times as big.
Had more money. Now that was around Muncie here making the money, but doing nothing except brains. Or I might say no brains. Well, I knew that, but I never got into it. People tell me, the fellows tell me, the man wants so and so. I said, well, why don't you go ahead and do what he won't do? He won't know that it's cheaper. Probably don't want it. Don't want something cheap.
So they tell you what they wanted, and then you go back to the office and
Make a rough sketch. The length, width, how far street or whatever. All those things put down. And maybe a picture of one that they made up from so and so. You know, you take a chance. Think maybe say that he didn't. He hadn't seen that one up there, and they took it. He put it down in his drawing. Bigger, little. Good or good, bad.
I just wonder if those blocks that they built the new courthouse, the sides, they were already built in a factory someplace, and then they brought them in and put them up.
Yeah.
I just wonder how long if they were reinforced, and how long will they last?
They were probably reinforced, but when the water gets in them and they crack that way when the water
Yes.
freezes and things like that. Maybe
Yes,
those people
but
that put them up.
If it's done right, I know, as I remember, it wouldn't do that.
Well, at
It's
the
allowed
time,
for expansion.
at the time when they were doing it, I think it was in the '60s when they put that building up. It might have been a new thing that just came out, and when they put it up, the builders didn't know how to do it right. Maybe the builders did it wrong, and that's why it's cracking in some places.
It's a shame,
Yeah.
because it means the people of Muncie are going to have to pay for it.
Did Cuno take you out on the job much? Take you out and do inspections and say, here's how you do it? This is that where you learned all about what you said by?
We started that in the office, and then we take a walk.
Go for those little walks, eh?
Yeah. No drink.
No drink.
He wasn't a drinking man.
Uh-huh.
Oh, another thing I want to ask you, maybe you don't remember, but your picture frames, some of them you made out of plaster? Or were they all wood? Oh, okay.
Those are all made out of wood.
We got dirty that way too. I can't reach it.
But you never made any plaster, anything out of plaster?
Make ornaments for them?
No, that is
Yes, it's just see that
wood
little thing
carved
there?
out.
Oh, yeah.
I cut that out on the
Lathe.
lathe.
Yeah. We're thinking about, well, he's talking about plaster ornament. Sometimes they put plaster ornament on frames.
Well,
We never got into that.
They'd have to build a mold. The mold would have to be something the plaster let go.
Yeah. But you didn't do any of that.
Well, some places.
He did mold work.
You remember what you used to make the molds out of? Was there something that you mixed up? Some kind of root that you mixed up before you put the plaster in?
Well,
to make the material?
I wouldn't know anything about that because those were made in the factory here.
Oh, the molds were?
Yeah.
Oh,
You said they were made in Muncie? Factory? Hmm.
I'm getting the right one.
did you ever make your own molds?
Boy, you should have found some down there in that basement.
We didn't get any stuff out of the basement. The stuff we got was all out of the upstairs. Part.
Still hooked up?
I have a green visor. Yeah, you used to wear that? That keep the sun out of your eyes. Keep the glare out.
The light.
The glare.
Overhead lights out.
Yeah, right.
He brought 2 of them here with him.
Oh, did you?
We're going to go down for a walk down the hall. He'll put his blinder on.
She thinks you're talking about that cap.
Oh, these here?
There's 2 of them.
Oh, we're talking about the.
He's got a yellow one too.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
yellow
talking about the green one.
You remember?
A friend of mine had what I have they used for. There's another one there. There's another one there above there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need it in here.
Not much sun.
Keep the stuff out of my hair.
Yeah, right. Right.
No, there's a lot of work on a thing like that.
But he had a lot of plaster cast down in the basement. I don't know what he used it for, but Joseph asked you about what happened to your plaster cast, and you couldn't tell him. You didn't remember.
I didn't know where they were. They're there. You know why? We didn't know where to get one.
What's that?
Look out here.
Oh, I see.
The files?
Nail file.
No, let's see, what is that you picked up?
Those are nail files.
The littlest one on them.
I put something in that drawer, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, I'll show you after a while. Here's where the lands.
Uh-huh.
That's this hole here, both ways, give a little.
Mm-hmm.
And then this upper part is practically the same thing. And that's, I don't believe that thing would ever. It doesn't look like it's work for it. Well, anyway, here's the stopper.
Mm-hmm.
Goes in. Just that thing that way. And this thing here, that's passing through. No, that's a small one. It's in there. And that is a door dump. Well, all the way around there.
There's a slide on there.
Yeah, you've got such a thing to slide on. Out here. One of those, these are the big ones.
He made those covers, if you notice them in my kitchen. Were you down in my kitchen?
Yeah, I was in your kitchen.
Well, he made those covers for me years and years ago. I'm trying to think. how long it's been, 35, 40 years ago. And he put on the left-hand side, there was a place built in there for flour, for a 10-pound sack of flour. And he built it so you just pulled it out and settled it, it'd come down, it'd come out, but it wouldn't come out.
Mm-hmm.
But you could pick it up and pull it out, and I did that many times to clean underneath of it. But I thought that was the most wonderful thing he'd ever done, was build that, where he built that,
Flour bin.
and the sugar bin was the same way. Just pull down on it and hold 10 pounds of sugar.
Right.
I don't remember that.
No, his mind just goes back so far, and that's,
Right.
because I've asked him about several things, and I don't remember. And I'd say, well, I don't understand. You always, if I want to know anything, you could tell me. And that's the way he was. He was just one of those kind of people that read anything that he thought you could learn something from it.
What was his favorite thing?
And he read books of that kind of it. They were too deep. But mine, now when I wrote my books, he didn't seem to want to read them.
Did you hear that?
And he didn't know. He knew too that the editors had passed on them and said they were very fine. Two editors from New York said they were history was fantastic. That's the way he put it. It's just fantastic. But Dick Green, you know who Dick Green is? Well, he's the editor of the Muncie Star.
Yeah. Right.
And he's a friend of ours, and he read my books, both of them. And he passed on very highly. Now, he's an editor.
Right.
And he passed on them and said, I ought to have them published. But when I got into it and talked to somebody in New York that would handle this for me, in other words, I'd have to hire a man to take care of that for me.
Are these historical books?
Yes.
You might.
He would.
They had history in them, but they were more fiction.
It's
Oh,
right on the
they're
tip of my
fiction.
tongue. Well, anyhow, this man would read your book, and if he thought it was worth it, if it was worth it, he'd pass it on to the publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wouldn't question it because this man was an experienced reader, what they call a reader. But the price on it, to get that done. And then they wouldn't sell the books after they did all that.
What were you going to say? You might try.
Well, if it was a strictly historical thing, I work for the Indiana Historical Society Library, and they publish material if it's historical type things.
Facts.
Well,
Yeah,
there is a book of my history in the Historical Society in Muncie.
The Delaware County Archives.
Yeah.
Right, and it's in the library there, the new library. That's where the archive is located now.
Well, I don't know about that now. That might be different, but it was out there on a highway, and this looked like a big old farmhouse.
Oh, up on Wheeling Pike?
Might be Wheeling Pike. I don't remember. But it was of the Historical Society, he told me. And he asked me if I would have a book bound to give to the Historical Society,
Mm-hmm.
which I did. Well, it cost about $18 to get one bound with a paper binder on. I have some of them in here.
Mm-hmm.
I had a book. This was a nice binder,
Mm-hmm.
like a book bound like that. And that is my second part of the history.
Mm-hmm.
But now these were my son's books he had in school for his work, these binders.
Mm-hmm.
Now here is a copy of my historical book. That's a pretty good sized book.
You got to take a look.
And then the other book that I wanted to show you what it cost. Now this here would cost about $18 to have that bound this way.
Oh, really?
Well, this is family history and.
That's all the truth, the family history.
Have you ever been to the genealogy section of the Indiana Historical Society?
I can't tell you because I gave the book to Dick Green and he took care of it.
I see.
But it's in the Historical Society, and that's the only thing I know. But of course, those were, I typed those. You have the original book there, the history. That's when the ancestors came over here in 1819, and the book was like my great-great-grandfather was born in 1789, and then he was the one that came over and brought his family to this country. But I was showing you different types of ways you could have things bound.
Right.
And
Well, this will be very interesting for your grandchildren to read when they get old enough, and your great-grandchildren.
I have a copy here I've written to show you another binding. This is hard binding. I only have one of these left. This is the history also, but it's in
That's a very nice binding.
That makes a nice book, but it's a little bit harder to read.
McDonald.
But Joe should show you what a writer is up against if he does. Now, I all this stuff here I've found I did it with my own money. But you can just see what it would cost to have anything published.
Well,
Yes, in the back of that book, that one there is what Dick Green, the write-up he gave me in the monthly paper about my book. There, let's see, yes, that is a picture of my mother and father holding me on their lap when I was a baby. See, I was a baby once.
You were going to say something?
Yes, anything that I've won, I've left out. And I don't know if there any of them hers left out. Put black and white.
Sure, if you could, something comes to you sometimes, it's jotted
I made
down.
these for Joe.
And we'll come out again sometime or somehow contact you. And anything you can remember, you can use.
well,
You know how to get out?
yeah, I think so.
We'll find our way out.
I think so.
Well, I was in a room this morning that I'd never been in.
Yeah, there's a lot of room.